Shadows on Ash Lane, a mystery story. Nora Thorne didn't own much, but what she had, she fought for. Her second story office on Ash Lane was modest just a desk, two filing cabinets, a window with cracked glass, and an electric kettle that never quite worked right. But it was hers. For the last 2 years, it had also been a headquarters. Tenants across Everidge had started calling it the last light on the block. Because while buildings went dark and signs flipped to for sale, Nora stayed. Vincent Darden had made that difficult. His company, Darden Holdings, had bought up most of the old downtown buildings. With his expensive suits and shiny brochures, he called it revitalization. But Nora saw the other side: rent hikes, no fault evictions, and families forced to move with 30 days' notice. Even the most loyal tenants whispered sometimes. Nora's temper was known. 2 years ago, she had slammed a protest sign into the hood of a city councilman's car. Just last month, she'd shouted Darden down at a zoning board meeting, calling him a parasite in a suit. And there were rumors, unconfirmed, that she had once waited outside his building well past midnight. Angela Cole, Darden's assistant, told a friend that Nora gave her the chills. She's intense, smart, but like she's always watching. That Thursday, it rained. Again. Rain always made the ceiling leak. A dull tap, tap, tap on the tin bucket beside her desk kept her company as she sifted through folders, blueprints, legal memos, eviction warnings. A half crumpled flyer from last month's protest sat beneath a mug stain. Just after noon, she left a voicemail on Darden's office line. Her voice was tight, tired. You keep pushing people around like pieces on a board. This ends tonight, one way or another. She hadn't meant anything more than a final legal stand, but the message lingered in the air, even after she put her phone down. She replayed it twice, almost deleted it, but didn't. She stayed late, trying to piece together enough evidence to bring the city zoning board. At 7:42 p.m., she pulled on her coat, double-checked that the lights were off, and locked the office. She paused to slip on her black leather gloves, thin and worn at the fingertips from years of winter marches and flyering in the cold. The rain had picked up. Streetlights blinked in and out through the mist. She reached the corner of Fifth and Ash just as her phone buzzed. From Grey Cardinal, message: Brando's, 8 p.m., back booth. I can help. The name was familiar. Grey Cardinal was one of the more cryptic users in the Everidge tenant forums, anonymous but always eerily accurate. Nora had never met them. Once, they'd posted a redacted copy of a lease Darden Holdings claimed didn't exist. Brando's Bistro sat near the edge of the business district. It shared a narrow alley with Darden Holdings. She arrived at 7:53, ducked under the awning, and shook water from her sleeves. Inside, the warm smell of cinnamon and coffee wrapped around her. She paid in cash for a cup of chamomile tea, her usual, and tucked the receipt into her coat pocket. As she scanned the booths, her eyes locked on a figure in the far back corner. A gray hoodie pulled low, laptop open, fingers tapping restlessly on the keys. She started toward them. The figure shifted, glanced up, then quickly stood and made their way toward the restroom without a word. Something in the movement, hurried, almost evasive, made her pause. As they passed, she caught a glimpse of the laptop screen, a zoning map, familiar lines, columns of numbers, then it snapped closed. She waited. The restroom door opened. Someone else came out. The figure never returned. No one approached. No one claimed to be Grey Cardinal. The barista later remembered a man in a hoodie sitting alone, but said he left quickly, like he changed his mind. Nora's tea cooled beside her, untouched. She left it behind and stepped back into the rain. The alley behind Darden's building was quiet, dark. A single light on the second floor burned steady. Unusual. Darden's office is usually closed by 6. The front doors were locked as expected, but the side entrance, used by the cleaning crew, stood slightly ajar. She hesitated, then stepped inside. The stairwell smelled of wet cement. Her boots squeaked softly on the rubber steps. On the second landing, she paused. A fresh smear of mud streaked the wall. Distinct, almost like someone had slipped and steadied themselves. The hallway upstairs was dim. One bulb flickered overhead. Darden's office door was cracked open. Warm light spilled onto the floor. She knocked once. No answer. The door swung open with a faint creak. Inside, the office was as immaculate as ever. Awards glinted on the shelves. A faint citrus cleaner smell lingered. His coat hung neatly by the door. On the desk, however, was chaos. Papers scattered, a folder open to a memo labeled Ash Lane Eviction Timeline. Her name was at the top, paper clipped to a grainy photo of her from last month's protest. Her hands trembled. She didn't touch anything. Her boots left faint, wet prints on the polished floor. A heavy glass paperweight with the words Darden Holdings Built to Last sat at the edge of the desk. She stared at it for a moment, then, behind her, something scraped. She turned, startled, but saw nothing. No one. She stepped back, uneasy now. She backed into the hallway. The office behind her fell silent. Then came a crash. Sharp. Sudden. Something heavy hitting the floor. She froze. Silence followed. Heart pounding, she stepped into the stairwell. A voice, muffled somewhere below, rose in alarm. She turned quickly. Her coat snagged briefly on the edge of a hedge near the exit. She yanked it free and kept walking. She didn't look back. As she turned onto Ash Lane, head down against the rain, something made her glance back, just once. Across the street, near the alley entrance, a shadow moved. Someone stood beneath the overhang of a shuttered newsstand, barely visible in the dark, a hood drawn up, hands in pockets, watching. She couldn't be sure. It was far, and the rain blurred the outlines, but the posture looked familiar, almost like the person from Brando's, the gray hoodie, the same guarded stillness. Before she could take a second look, a delivery van passed, blocking her view. When it was gone, so was the figure. But she didn't go straight home. After she left the alley behind Darden Holdings, she wandered for a while, past shuttered storefronts and dimly lit bus stops, her mind racing. She didn't check the time. Later, when asked, she would say only that she needed to clear her head. By the time she reached her apartment, it was nearly 9:40. Her coat was still damp in the hallway. Her boots left small marks across the rug. She changed into dry clothes and sat in silence, tea steeping beside her. Something about the night clung to her, sharp as static. She didn't know then that Vincent Darden would be found dead just hours later. At 10:12 p.m., Harold Weber, the janitor, found the body. He often worked late and had a key to the side door. He later said it was already unlocked when he arrived. The stairwell light was out. He assumed it had blown. Darden was slumped across his desk, head resting on a zoning folder, blood trickling from a wound on his temple. The chair was tipped over. His phone lay shattered beneath him. The heavy paperweight sat beside his hand. Its glass surface was cracked and streaked with red. One desk drawer hung open, its contents gone. On the corner of a zoning map, a tea stain had bloomed into the paper. 3 days later, the police received a letter. It was handwritten, blocky and uneven. I was in the hallway outside Darden's office Thursday night around 8:15. Heard yelling. Couldn't make out the words. Then a crash. I hid in the stairwell. A few minutes later, someone ran out the side door. They dropped a glove. I picked it up. I didn't want to be seen, but the person I saw, taller than the woman you're looking at, moved with a limp. I'm not ready to come forward yet. Signed, Larkspur. There was no return address. That same day, an officer recovered a black leather glove partially hidden in the hedges beside the alley. It was damp, slightly torn along the thumb seam. Inside was a partial fingerprint, smudged, incomplete. Forensics couldn't confirm a match, but couldn't rule one out either. It was a partial, consistent with someone of Nora's general profile. The glove itself was unremarkable. No monogram, no manufacturer label, a common style sold at most department stores in town. Angela Cole told police that Darden had canceled all meetings that evening. He said he needed to deal with someone or something once and for all, she recalled. He seemed agitated, distracted. He mentioned bringing a file home, but left it on his desk. At Brando's, none of the staff remembered Nora. The place had been packed, no security cameras inside, no footage from the alley. A neighbor across the street later told officers she saw someone in a long coat, shoulder-length hair, enter Darden's building around 8:10. She paused. Could have been that tenant lady, she admitted, but it was raining. Hard to say. In Nora's office, police found a file labeled Emergency Zoning Appeal and a flash drive labeled Eviction Docs Backups, both untouched. On her desk sat the kettle, unplugged. The bucket still caught the steady drip from the ceiling. The detectives knocked on her door 3 days after the body was found. It was almost sunset. Clouds still lingered overhead. Nora opened the door, tea in hand. "We'd like to talk to you about Thursday night," one of them said carefully. "It's about Vincent Darden." Nora looked from one face to the other. She didn't say a word. The rain had stopped, but the shadows on Ash Lane had not.